traffic control devices. uh, just a small note here. For your term project, we have already completed the manual calculations in the last topic. Okay, the multi-lane highways and freeways. That was the end of the manual calculations. For the Vism calculation, the Vism use of the Vism software, you can download and install it. And if you go to the term project guidelines, you will see a link for YouTube video, which shows the complete process of using Vism for level of service analysis. Okay, and I will also discuss it in the class as well. Okay, but I will do it next week. So if you want to work on it right now, you can go to the link and follow the procedure. Okay, if you want to wait for the class discussion, that will happen next week. Okay, so it's up to you what you want to do. Okay, so we are going to start the topic of traffic control devices. And again, this topic is taken from two different chapters, chapter 4 and 18. So the most of the things which you will do today will be from chapter 4, which are basics about traffic control devices. And then later on, when you will move to signals, that is taken from chapter 18. What are traffic control devices? These are used, so anything which is used to communicate information to the driver is a traffic control device. Okay, and I'm not talking about text messages from their wives and husbands and so on. I'm talking about information related to the road. Okay, communicated by the traffic engineers or the traffic management authority. So whoever is in charge of the road, if they want to communicate something to the driver, they will do it in the form of traffic control devices. Okay, there are three main categories of traffic control devices, which are traffic marking, signs, and signals. Okay, and then we can have subcategories as well, but these are the main three categories. The standards which are followed for traffic control devices are given in a manual, and that manual is called as MUTCD, and MUTCD stands for Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices. Okay, so this is an exclusive manual for traffic control devices, and it covers the standards related to application, design, and placement of traffic control devices. Okay, where they should be applied, how they should be designed, and where they should be placed. And this manual is published by Federal Highway Administration. Okay, and they have not revised the manual since 2012. Okay, so the last revision to the manual was published in 2012. Okay, obviously after that, a lot has happened with regards to the development in technology. Okay, but the manual only provides standards related to the design and placement and application of the device, the traffic control devices. As regards to technology, you can use any technology under these standards. Okay, so the standards have not changed. The technology is changing, no problem. Okay, and for civil engineers, the good thing is that we are not even concerned with the type of technology, right? The technology comes from the field of electronics engineering, mechanical engineering, electrical engineering. So those guys are more concerned with that. We are more concerned where the device should be placed, why, and so on and so forth, which is not changing, alhamdulillah. So we are happy. Okay. Now, why this manual was developed? Now, as I mentioned, it is developed by Federal Highway Administration. This organization is in USA. Okay. Now, in USA, they have given, or they have allowed their states to have their own rules and regulations for many things. Okay, and this includes the roads and highways as well. Okay, the management of traffic as well. But the problem was that when drivers go from one state to the other state in USA, they were having problems. They were getting confused because of the change in standards, especially related to traffic control devices, because these are this is the most important thing for a driver. Okay, so to avoid this confusion for the drivers, they decided that why don't we make uniform standards related to traffic control devices that will be applicable across all the states. So even if the driver is coming from one state and he's traveling in 3 other states, he will see the same standards of traffic control devices. Now, USA is a big country, so while they were developing these standards, they did a lot of they did a very comprehensive work. Okay, and that's why these standards, when they were developed in the end, they became acceptable for many countries in the world as well. So there are many countries in the world which are following the standards given in MUTCD, including the Gulf countries. So there are 3 main contents of MUTCD. Standards related to design of the device, and they include the shape, size, color, legend meaning the symbols, the type of symbol, the size of the symbol, and the design of the symbol itself. Okay, and they also, the other main part of MUTCD is standards and guidelines on where the devices should be located with respect to the traveled way, with respect to the road. Should it be above the road, side of the road? If it is on the side of the road, then at how much distance? If it is above the road, then at how much height? So those standards, okay, they are placement of the device. And the third thing is warrants or conditions that justify the use of a device. Okay, so a warrant or a condition is like a checklist. So if you tell me I want to install a signal at this intersection, so I will give you a list of warrants from MUTCD, and I will go and I'll ask you to go to the intersection and check if you are fulfilling the items in the checklist, then you can install a signal. Otherwise, don't install a signal at that intersection. Okay, so this is related to application of the device. The third thing is related to application of the device. Okay, so this is a set of warrants or conditions, in simple words, a checklist. So every time you have to decide which type of device I should apply at a location, then you go to those checklists, and whichever checklist is completely satisfied, you will take the respective device and you will apply it at that location. Now that was related to MUTCD. Now traffic control devices fulfill 5 requirements in general. Whether you take the MUTCD or any other manual or any other book, you will find these 5 requirements which must be fulfilled by traffic control devices. Okay, the first one is it should fulfill a need. Okay, so for example, you have a 10-kilometer segment. On that segment, the speed limit is same, whether you are at the start point or the middle or at the end. Okay, but you do not see a speed limit sign after every 500 meters on the segment. Why? Because at most of the points, the drivers may not be over speeding, or there is there's a very low chance that the driver will be over speeding, or there's a low chance, even if he is over speeding, that he will get into an accident because the road is clear and straight and wide and so on. So you may see a speed limit sign just before a curve, because before a curve the sign is required so the driver can safely go over the curve. If he's over speeding on the curve, then more chances of accident, right? Similarly, you are trying to put a signal. Okay, so signal should be at the intersection, not in the middle of the road, right? So because in the middle of the road it's not required, why should we stop in the middle of the road, right? Same thing with a stop line. Okay, stop line is required where the driver is supposed to stop. Okay, so don't provide a sign unnecessarily. Okay, it may be still communicating the correct information. For example, the speed limit case. So even if you put a speed limit signs after every 1 kilometer, the information is correct. Okay, it's not like you are putting a stop line in the middle of the road. It's not the same case. But even if the information is correct, it is not required by the driver to know at that point. So providing information unnecessarily without the need may confuse the driver. It may divert the driver, distract the driver. He may be looking at the speed limit signs, although he has no use of it. Okay, so provide the device where it is required. Then the device should command attention of the driver. Okay, the attention is commanded by the design and the placement. Okay, so the device is high enough, large enough, the font is clear, and the placement is like in the cone of vision of the driver. Okay, then it will automatically command attention. Okay, now I want you to observe, if you go on a drive today, and let's say you are going on a road where you travel on daily basis, but just observe, pay attention that if there is a prominent traffic control device on the road, it will always attract your attention, even if you are going on that road for the 100th time. You already know the device, you already know the information communicated by the device, but it is so prominent that already attracts your attention. It catches your attention just by the design and the placement. Okay, you see a big sign on top of your head, it commands your attention. Okay. Other extreme is sometimes authorities do not take care of the device and its attention seeking, and you will see that the tree and some branches of the tree are coming in front of the device, in front of the sign. Obviously, it is hidden, it will not command any attention. Okay. Same thing can be said with the markings which are not repainted after the required period. So those markings will get a blur and it will become unclear, and it will not command attention. Okay, but if you have freshly painted marking, they have done some maintenance work in the street near my house, and that street doesn't have much traffic. Okay, but they have repainted the signs and everything. I feel like following it. Okay, so commanding attention means that. Okay, take care of the placement and the design of the sign, and that it should attract the attention of the driver. It should convey a clear and simple message. Okay, take the example of the speed limit sign. The speed limit sign just has a number, and as a mature, experienced driver, the number indicates the maximum speed of the road. Okay, you know that. Now, suppose they start writing with the speed limit, why the speed limit is this much, or why the sign is here. So you see the number, and below the number, you see a 3-line text saying, follow this speed limit. If you don't follow it, there's a curve ahead and you will get into an accident. There are already 300 accidents on this road and you will be the next victim. Do they say all these things? No. Okay. You may have seen the construction work on the road. So before the construction work, sometimes you just see a triangular sign for the warning, or sometimes there's no sign. They just use these orange cones. That's it. This is enough for the driver to understand I should not go near that area. That's it. This is what we want to communicate. This is enough. Okay. So even without any sign, these cones are enough to communicate these things, communicate the message. Okay, so keep it simple and clear as much as possible. If you don't do that, try to provide too much information to the driver, too much explanation, okay, or too many things at the same time. It will do the same thing what I said earlier. It will distract the driver. It will confuse him. The driver will take more time to read the sign and so on. And for that much time, his attention will be away from the road. We don't want these things. Okay, it will create more accidents. You should command respect of the road users. Now, respect means what? Respect comes from the first point. If you are taking care of the first point, it will command respect of the road users. Okay, what was the first point? Fulfill the need. Okay, so for example, you have you have put a warning sign, reduce speed. Okay. And then there's another sign that work ahead. Usually they use these two warning signs together, right? Now you see the warning sign, you reduce the speed. Okay, but when you come close to the sign, you don't see any work on the road. You don't see the need why I should reduce my speed. Okay, so next time you are on that point, even though you see the sign, even the message is very clear, but you will not respect it because you know it is useless. Okay, so commanding respect means that you fulfill the need so the driver can see the need for that device on that point. If it says reduce speed, the driver should be able to perceive why. There's a curve, there's a work zone, okay, or the lane is closing, something like this. Okay, signal. So why there's a signal on this road? Because a dangerous intersection, there's heavy traffic coming, and so on and so forth. Okay, the driver should be able to see there's a stop sign. Why is there a stop sign here? Okay, because a three-leg intersection, you are coming to the main street. The driver should be able to perceive these things, and he will be able to perceive these things if you have put the device where it was required. If you put the device unnecessarily, it will become useless, and driver will not pay any respect to it. The last point is give enough time for the driver to have a proper response. Okay. In some cases, you may have seen on the highways in Bahrain that before you reach a signal, you see a warning sign, signal after 200 meters. Or it is also done for the roundabouts as well, roundabout after 200 meters. Okay. Why do you need a sign there? When you come close, you will already see the signal. Signal is not a small thing. Okay. A roundabout, again, a very prominent structure on the road in the middle. You will see it. But the point from where you will see the signal on the roundabout may not be enough for you to do something to stop properly. Okay, maybe the geometry of the road is such that you will see the signal when you are 50 meters in advance, and 50 meters may not be enough for you to stop. So they provide an extra sign there. Okay, again, the purpose is that the driver should be able to do the proper response in proper time. Okay, with enough time. Let me give you another example. Let's say you are coming on the highway and that highway has 3 lanes. Okay, and each lane is for a different movement. So this one is for straight, this one is for right, and this one is for left. Okay, now you want the driver to get into the proper lane before he reaches the intersection, right? But let's say this is a stop line and the arrows on the pavement are here near the stop line. Even if the driver comes to this point and he sees the arrow, it is useless for him. He is already at the stop line. If he tries to go in separate lanes, it will be dangerous for him as well as other drivers. So if you want to give him an arrow sign, you want to tell him to get into the appropriate lane, the arrow sign should be well before the stop sign, well before the stop line. Okay, so this is what we mean here. Okay, giving adequate time for proper response. Whatever the response is, the driver should be able to receive the information well ahead of the point where he is supposed to act. Okay, so he is supposed to be in the appropriate lane when he is at the stop line. So he should be able to see the information related to the lanes well before he reaches the stop line. Okay, and I already gave you the example of the signal and the roundabout with the warning signs. Okay. Another example can be the reduce speed sign. You want the driver to reduce the speed because there's a curve, so the sign should be before the curve, not on the curve. Okay, or the driver should be able to see the sign when before he enters the curve. Okay. Now, communication with the driver should be clear. It should be as per standard, and it should be in a redundant manner. Okay, so it should be clear. We have talked about it. There are some standards. We know that if you have taken your license, you know there are some standards according to which control devices are provided, and this is why we have the MUTCG manual as well. Okay, what do we mean by redundancy? Okay, the word redundant. If I remember correctly, they used to teach us. They used to teach us about redundant members in trusses. Okay, so what do we mean by redundant? When something is redundant, what does it mean?
Doctor, does it mean that You don't even need to read it clearly because you know what it is.
Yeah, very close. Very close. Anyone else? Anyone else? Redundant. The meaning of the word redundant. Not important. Okay. Not required. Okay. Okay. Just a small change here. Redundant doesn't mean not required. It means more than required. Doing more than required. Okay. Redundant means doing more than required. Okay. So like I've just done it, I repeat my sentences, right? Why do I do it? For redundancy. Okay, to make sure eventually you get the information. Okay, possibly you remember it at the time of the exam because I repeated it so many times. Okay, so this is redundancy. Repetition is redundancy. Okay, so doing something more than required. How do we create redundancy in traffic control devices? We create redundancy through the use of color, shape, pattern, and legend. For example, you have a stop sign. The shape of the stop sign is circular. The color of the stop sign is red. Okay. So for example, you are a driver and you wear glasses to read something. And on a particular day, you forgot your glasses at home. So you cannot see, you cannot read the text on the sign properly. But with the shape and color, you know it must be a stop sign. Okay. If somebody can read it, the word stop on the sign is redundant. Okay. The color and the shape is already communicating to you that this is a stop sign. So whether you read it or not, the text is redundant. Okay, or the other way around, the text is saying stop. Okay, so the color and the shape is redundant, more than required, right? So if somebody cannot read the text or somebody cannot distinguish the color, he can get the idea, get the message from the other things. Okay, so this is redundant. There are more things related to a message which are conveying the same thing. Okay, another way of redundancy is using multiple devices for the same message. Using multiple devices for the same message. I've already given you one example for the warning sign for the signal after 200 meters. This is redundancy. The signal itself is there on the intersection, and then you are providing an extra sign to indicate there's a signal. This is redundancy. Okay. Another thing can be, let's say you have extra lane for turning left. Okay. And normally with that extra lane, you will see a separate signal as well. And that separate signal is for the left turning only. Okay. So that separate signal and the marking on the pavement both are telling you that there's a separate lane for left turning. This is also redundancy. So two devices, the marking and the signal, both used for indicating the extra lane or the separate lane for left turning. This is also redundancy. So we should try to communicate information to the driver wherever it is required, with redundancy. Okay, but keep in mind, we are still following the same principles. Information must be provided where it is required, but when it is required, provide it with redundancy. Okay, now we'll talk about the three types of traffic control devices. The first one is traffic markings. Traffic markings are the most commonly used category of traffic control devices. Now, markings are not an object, right? We know that. It's just a marking on the pavement. But these markings are still communicating information to the driver. So by definition, they are also devices. Okay, markings are devices because they are also communicating information to the driver. So by definition, they are also devices. There are three types of markings: longitudinal, transverse, and object markers and delineators. Okay, I will give you the examples for each one of them, and I will explain object markers and delineators as well. But I want you to tell me what is the difference between longitudinal and transverse What is the difference between longitudinal and transverse? Tell me. The word longitudinal and transverse, what is the difference between them? Anyone? I'm not talking about longitudinal markings or transverse marking. I'm just talking about the word longitudinal and the word transverse. What is the difference between them? Anyone? Should be very easy, yeah? Running it straight and across, yeah. Okay, good, thank you. So longitudinal means straight meaning along the travel lane, along the direction of travel, along the center line, along the length of the road. And transverse means across. So in terms of geometry, transverse is taken as perpendicular to the length, right? But in terms of road devices or road markings, transverse is any marking which is at an angle to the direction of travel, any angle, 90, 30, 60, any angle. That is considered as transverse marking, okay? So longitudinal markings include markings for lanes, marking for center line, marking for shoulders, marking for pavement edge. So if you see a solid line at the edge of the pavement, that is a pavement edge marking, that is also longitudinal. And transverse markings include marking for crosswalk, marking for a stop line, yield line. Okay, so stop line is solid, yield line is dotted. Okay, give way. And arrow signs, okay, if they are transverse, okay, and parkings on the side of the road, if you have parking places on the side of the road, so the marking for these places will be transverse. Sometimes before the bridge or before the ramp, you see markings like them as well. They are also transverse because they are not completely along the length. Okay. Then we have object markers and delineators. Okay. So object markers and delineators are used for indicating an object or a divergence which is coming on the direction of travel, which is coming in on the traveled way, on the road. An object or a divergence which is coming on the traveled way or on the road. Okay, so you can see these two pictures over here. I have taken these pictures on 16 December highway. If you are coming from Indian School going towards Traffic Directorate, at that signal, the last signal before Traffic Directorate, you will see these. This is an object marker, the first one on the top, and this one is a delineator. Okay, so on that road, there are two separate lanes for left turning, and then there are other lanes for straight and right. Okay, and between these two movements, there is a traffic island. Okay, so they use object markers to indicate to the driver, now you have to divert towards your own lane, you cannot just continue straight. And then there is an object marker, which is this one, to show the traffic island. So traffic island is separating the lanes of left turning and straight, right? So to indicate the position of the traffic island, you have the marker, and to show the location from where you should start to divert, they have these delineators. Okay, now why are we considering them as traffic markings? Why don't we consider them as signs? Okay, the reason is their height. Traffic signs are usually higher, and object markers or delineators are 4 feet or less. 4 feet or less. Okay, so because of their height, which is less than usual traffic signs, we consider them under the heading of traffic markings. Okay, you may also see markers on T junctions, T intersections. Okay, so if you are coming on a T intersection, something like this, you may see a marker here as well, again indicating that you cannot go straight. Okay, now this marker is positioned vertically and this marker is usually positioned horizontally to tell the driver either to take a right turn or a left turn. Just don't go straight. Okay, so at any place where you want the driver to know that there's an object in front of him and he should divert, you will use object marker to show the object or to show the location of the object, which is dangerous, and then to indicate the point of divergence, you will use delineators, okay, which are these cones basically. Okay, then we come to traffic signs. Traffic signs are of three types: regulatory, warning, and guide signs. Okay, right. So I will tell you what does it mean for each sign, and you will tell me, you will give me an example. Okay. So regulatory signs are those signs which communicate a traffic law to you, to the driver. So can you give me an example of a traffic sign which communicates a traffic regulation, a speed limit? Okay, good. Any other example? Yes, apart from a speed limit. Any other example? A stop sign. Yes, good. Okay, stop sign, speed limit are regulatory signs. Okay. Then we have warning signs. Warning signs indicate a potential hazard or danger which is about to come on the road. A potential hazard or danger which is about to come on the road. Give me an example of a warning sign. Work ahead. Yes, work zone ahead. Good. Any other? Yeah. Reduce speed. Yes. Yes, reduce speed can be because of work or any other thing, but reduce speed is a separate sign. Reverse curve warning sign. Good. Okay. The third one is guide signs. Yeah, curves as well. Okay, done with the warning sign. The third one is guide signs. So a guide sign is used to indicate direction of a facility or a route for the driver. A guide sign is that which is used to indicate direction of a particular facility or route for the driver. Give me an example of a guide sign. Airport sign, yes, yes. Direction of the airport or location of the airport. Okay. Educational area, very good, very good. So we go from the airport to the education area. Location signs, yes, location signs. Okay. So you see these big billboards which are indicating take this turn for Sheikh Salman Highway, take this turn for this highway. These are all guide signs. Sometimes you see the sign for fuel station as well, gas station. Again, a guide sign. Okay, so very good. You have got the idea, and this is all what you've already told me. Then traffic signals. Traffic signals are can be of many types. You can see there are 9 types of traffic signals listed here. I will go briefly over them. Traffic control signals are those which are used at intersections for regulating the movement of vehicles. So you go to any intersection in Bahrain, the signal which is installed there, if there's a signal there, then it will be a traffic control signal because it is used for movement of vehicles. Then we have pedestrian signals. Pedestrian signals are exclusive for the safe movement of pedestrians. So you don't see them at the intersection. You will see them at the middle, in the middle of the road. So if you go from 16 December Highway towards Isa Town Mall, so on that road you will see some pedestrian signals. So a pedestrian will come, the signal is green at that time, he will push the button, signal will become red, and then he can move. This is the pedestrian signal. Okay, so they are normally in the mid segment of the road, they are not at the intersections. Okay, because at the intersection then you need to regulate the movement of vehicles. Emergency vehicle traffic control signals. So emergency vehicles include ambulances, fire trucks, and so on. So they are signals which are installed and they will remain green until an emergency vehicle comes. Okay, so that signal will become red for other directions, otherwise it will remain green for other directions. So this is again exclusive signal for emergency vehicles. Traffic control signals for one lane two-way facilities. Now this is interesting. Let's say you have a street and you want to use that street for movement of both directions. I'm talking about one lane, okay? A single lane which is used for both directions. Now it will be dangerous. Obviously, if you allow both directions to operate at the same time, it will be dangerous. So the movement on that street is regulated through a set of signals at both ends. Okay, so you install a signal over here, and then you install a signal over here. At a particular time, only one of these signals will be green. Okay, and these signals do not change on a minute basis. Okay, so maybe in the morning time for 3-4 hours, this a street will be used for only this movement. So this will be green and this will be red. In the evening time, you feel traffic coming from the other direction is more, so this will become green and this one will become red. Okay, so this is one lane two-way facility. Okay, so signal is indicating in what direction the street is operating and doesn't change after every few seconds. Okay, so this is different from the traffic control signals. Traffic control signals for freeway entrance ramps. Another term for these signals is a ramp meter. So normally when you are entering from a ramp onto a bridge or onto a freeway, there is no signal. Okay, normally. But in some cases where you feel the flow from the ramp is very high, so if you let it move into the freeway without any signal, then it may cause a traffic jam or some accidents on the freeway. So to avoid that, you put a signal for the guys who are entering from the ramp. Okay, so they will only enter when the signal is green for them. Okay, and usually it is beneficial in the peak hours if the flow coming from the ramp is very high compared to the flow on the freeway. Okay, so these are known as ramp meters. I have not seen ramp meters in Bahrain, but there was a group of students who did a senior design project on ramp meters last year. Okay, then we have traffic signals for movable bridges. Now they are used where you would have rivers going or flowing within the city. Okay, for example, London. Okay, so they have the Thames River. So there's a bridge over the Thames River, which is across London. Okay, if you go to Amsterdam, the whole city is beside or beside a river. Okay, same thing in Venice as well. So there are many cities and there are many states in USA as well which have this arrangement, a river which is flowing across the street. Okay, so on that river you will have a bridge, and that bridge is open for vehicles at all times, unless there is a ship or a vessel which wants to go under the bridge and the bridge doesn't have enough height for it. Okay, so they plan for it, they program it, schedule it, that at this particular time this ship will be going under the bridge, and because of that ship we have to close the bridge. Okay, so the bridge is like this. Okay, and there's a ship which is about to go under the bridge, and there's not enough height for it, so there will be a signal on both ends of the bridge. These signals will become red. Okay, and the bridge will be collapsed on both sides, so it will go like this, and there's now enough space for the ship to travel. So when the ship is gone, the bridge will come back to its place, and then the signal will become green for the vehicles. Okay, same thing happens on railway crossings as well. Then we have lane use control signals. So lane use control signals, for example, you have signals which are indicating that the lane is only for the trucks. Okay, or you are indicating that that the lane is for left turning. So you will see a separate signal with a left turning arrow and so on. So these are lane use control signals. Then we have flashing beacons. I've started to see flashing beacons in Bahrain as well. So they put them on top of the road. Okay, and they are flashing. I have seen them when I was coming from Sakhir campus. Okay, on Sheikh Isa bin Salman Highway. Coming from Sakhir campus on Sheikh Isa bin Salman Highway, you're going towards the city, right? Okay, towards Manama and so on. So there's a flashing, there's a board, and below the board you will see these flashing signals. I have seen them in Europe as well. Okay, so they are flashing, and they are just to warn you. Okay, to keep you awake. Okay, so they are used on roads which are high speed, straight roads. So you want to keep the drivers awake. So they keep on flashing. So when you are coming close to them, they will flash in your eyes. So you will become, warned, and you will become awake. Okay, alarmed and so on. So these are flashing beacons, and we have in roadway lights. In roadway lights, let me show. You cannot see the picture now. These are the in roadway lights. See this one? In roadway lights. So they're lights which are installed on the road itself, and normally they are installed near pedestrian crossings and stop lines. Okay, again, just to catch the attention of the driver, so he knows that he has to stop here. Okay. So once you install a traffic signal, it should remain operational at all times. You cannot switch it off, because if you switch it off, it will create confusion for the driver. So I am a driver, I come to this intersection, a particular intersection every day, and there's a traffic signal which is operating. One day I come there and the signal is off. Now I don't know what to do. Okay, so to avoid this confusion, we do not switch off the signal. Okay, you may say that at night times or at some particular hours of the day, the traffic is very low and the signal is stopping people unnecessarily. In that case, you can use a signal in a flashing mode. Okay, now I'm not talking about the flashing greens which they are using on the signals in wherein. Okay, that is like a warning. Okay, and after flashing green, the signal becomes something else, yellow and red and so on. I'm talking about continuous flashing signal. Continuous flashing signal. Okay, so either a signal is continuously flashing red or it is continuously flashing yellow. Continuous flashing red means a stop sign. It's equivalent to a stop sign. So if you see the signal continuously flashing red, that means come to the intersection, stop like a stop sign, like you would do on a stop sign, and continue if there is no traffic from the other side. Okay, so you will not waste your time because of the red signal. Okay, you will just wait for a couple of seconds and you will move if there's no traffic for you. And continuous flashing yellow means the signal will flash. Continuous flashing yellow is equivalent to a give way sign. So you come to the intersection, the signal is flashing yellow. You will come cautiously, okay, but you can continue if there is no traffic on the other side. Okay, so continuous flashing can be used in times when the traffic is very low to avoid unnecessary stopping for the drivers. Okay, but do not switch off the signal. Okay, similarly, do not use an extra give way or stop sign with the signal, because it may conflict with the indication of the signal. You put a stop sign, the signal is showing green. Again, confusion for the driver. So do not use any extra regulatory signs with the signal. Okay. What are the benefits of installing a signal? The first benefit is the signal can increase the capacity of critical or heavy movements from the at the intersection. So there are certain movements which have more volume. Signal will give more time to them and their capacity will increase. Okay. Signal also reduces most of the severe accidents on the intersection, because movements which can have severe accidents are not allowed to enter at the same time. Okay, so they will not get into an accident, hopefully, if the drivers are sensible enough. Okay, so severe accidents like accident with a pedestrian or head-on accident or right-angle accidents, these are very severe accidents. Okay, so obviously these movements are separated because of the timing of the signal. But in many cases, signals may increase some of the less severe accidents. For example, rear end accidents, okay, where a car hits you from the rear, a rear end accident. It can increase because of signal, because many drivers may choose to stop very late when the signal becomes red. Some drivers cannot decide when the signal is yellow. Okay, so those drivers create these rear end accidents many times on a signal. Okay, but these accidents are less severe. The accidents which are saved by the signal are more severe as compared to that. Signals can provide continuous movement on a main highway. So you can coordinate the signals in such a way that a car comes or goes from one signal, and when it reaches the other signal, it is already green for that car. It can keep on moving without any stoppage. Okay, so this is called as signal coordination. Signals on a highway are coordinated so that cars which are on that highway can move continuously through the series of signals. So when they reach the next signal, it is already green for them and they can keep on moving. Okay, so if you come to the signals which are installed on 16 December highway and you are moving straight, the signals are timed according to it. That you can keep on moving. Not all of you, not all the cars which are coming from one signal to the other, but some of them. Okay, they can continue moving. Signals also provide interruptions to heavy movement to give chance for the lighter or secondary streets to move as well. Now, again, something you can observe. Go towards any roundabout in the peak hour, and you will see, since people from the main street, from the main highway, continuously enter the roundabout without much gap, without much gap. So the people on the secondary street, the street which has less movement, do not get a chance to enter the intersection. People coming from the main street are coming without any gap because there are so many. So you, who is standing on the secondary street, does not get a chance to enter the roundabout. And it has happened many times with me. It must have happened with you as well. And you, if you want, you can observe it. Okay. Whenever you are at a roundabout in the peak hour, just observe. Main street always will be operating primarily because it will not give the gap to the other street. Okay. So a signal will make sure that even the secondary or the minor street also gets enough chance. So it will block the movement on the heavy movement just to give the chance to the light movement vehicles as well. Obviously, that time will be less, but it is not like if there are too many vehicles on the main street, then the minor street will not get a chance at all. No, it will get some chance after a fixed interval. Signal indications we already know, green, yellow, and red. Okay, they call them balls in the book because of the shape. Okay, if you take out the bulb, the light out of the signal pole, it will be in the form of a ball. So they call them green ball, yellow ball, red ball, meaning the light. Okay, green light, yellow light, red light. So green means continuous movement. Go. Yellow means prepare to stop. Okay, or move cautiously. Prepare to stop or move cautiously. If you are close to the signal, continue moving with caution. If you are far from the signal and the signal is yellow, then you know that it will turn red and you should be prepared to stop. Okay, and in Bahrain we use yellow twice. In one cycle we use it twice, going from green to red and then going from red to green. The more critical one, the more important one is the one which is going from green to red. Okay, because now it is for the driver who is moving already, so it is more critical from the point of view of safety, because if that driver doesn't stop at the right moment, or if he is not moving, he will create an accident in both cases. Okay, so in this slide, in this topic, we will be talking about yellow, which is from green to red, more critical. If you are already stopped, the signal becomes yellow for you, not so important. Okay, important, but not so much. Okay, so we're talking about yellow, which is from green to red. Okay, I've already talked about flashing yellow and flashing red. And then we have arrow indications. So signals can be provided with arrow signs as well. So within the light of the signal, you see the arrow for straight and left and so on. So these arrow balls, arrow indications are indicating that signal is exclusive for a particular movement. So if you see a signal light which has a straight arrow in it, that means it is for straight movement only. If you see a signal light which has a left turning arrow in it, it means that it is for left turning only. So arrow indications can be part of the indication of signals. Okay, so this is it. We will continue tomorrow, inshallah, with signal terminologies, more signal terminologies. If you have any questions, please go ahead. Any questions, confusion, clarity you need? Everything is clear? Okay, then thank you. Have a nice day. I'll see you guys tomorrow, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum. Yeah, thank you.